Hey, what's up guys? Jake Verdon Tech here, and as you can see on the screen here, we're going to be taking a look at Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. This has been a very long awaited game. I kind of hesitate to call it a game because it really is just an amazing piece of technology. All that's gone into this, and now consumers are finally getting to experience all that's gone into it and really enjoy the flying experience of it. So we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to go through some of the menus. We're going to do a little bit of flying, and I'll just kind of walk through, and it's kind of not a first look for me, as I do have I got about 2 hours of flight time and just probably 2-3 hours of actually messing with the software. So but I definitely don't know all the functionality of it. There's still a lot I have to learn with it, but we're just going to do a little walkthrough and see what happens. Alrighty guys, so here we are in the main menu of Flight Simulator 2020. So this is it. When you open up the software, you have 4 main tabs here. You have your world map. That's where you're actually going to select your departure and destination locations, and you'll actually set up your flight plan in there, all that stuff, and your aircraft. Flight training is I think there's 8 flight training courses so far. You can go through those, and they basically teach you the basics of flight. I have not messed with those yet, but they have a lot of good stuff. So you start with like basic controls, and then as you progress through it, you actually learn like traffic patterns. You do like a solo flight, and you learn some navigation stuff as well. So really cool, really beneficial to any newcomers into flight simming. Activities are really neat because these include your landing challenges, which are very interesting. They got lots of difficult challenges with a world leaderboard, which is very exciting. Bush trips, I don't know too much about this. I imagine it's just doing like some backcountry flying and landing in some pretty desolate areas. Over in the profile tab, they got some pretty cool information. So they have, as you can see, I have 2 hours of, I don't know if that's just in the software or my actual flight time. I think it's just in the software. They have the hangar, content manager, and a logbook, which I just looked at recently. This is pretty neat. This actually has all your logs of flights you've done, and keeps like the timestamps for all that stuff, and starts calculating how many flight hours you actually have. So pretty neat. The hangar, you can get a gorgeous cinematic view of certain aircraft that you have selected. Right now I have the King Air 350i, which looks beautiful in this view. Oh, and I didn't realize you can actually kind of free look around, which is very cool. But just an incredibly beautiful game. Like looking at the reflections and the textures and the lighting is just unreal. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna do a little bit of flying. I'm not exactly sure which area we're going to fly at, but I think we're just gonna do an area pretty close to me and what I'm pretty used to flying. So this game has a number of, I guess you could say, hand-modeled airports, and there's a pretty good list of them. I know compared to all the airports in the world, it's not very big, but there's quite a few that are built out, like Orlando International is one of them. So it's pretty intuitive too to set up your flight plan. So you have your departure and arrival location. You can select it from a drop down here, or if you want to pick it out on the map, you can do that as well. So for instance, I can set this as my departure. And then I should be able to select the area too. Just do... We'll start off at the ramp. And then go to Daytona Beach International, and we'll set that as our arrival. And there's a pretty good, I don't have the deluxe edition, but even the standard edition has a pretty good list of aircraft. I mean, there's a lot of them I'm very interested in flying. The TBM, when I saw this in the preview videos for this simulator, I was really looking forward to flying that aircraft, and it flies great. But for this purpose, for our purposes, I'm actually just going to do the 172 with the G1000s. So weight and balance, this is where you actually set your fuel and payload. And then there's a liveries tab, but as you can see, for many of these aircraft, I think there's only one livery out for each aircraft. So, and you can set your failures also, ATC options. So right now this is in live time. So this is 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I believe it's also taking into account the live weather and I believe live traffic as well. Alrighty guys, so this is the view of kind of the before you actually start flying. They just do some cinematic views around the airplane, around the airport, which really looks cool. Right now we're in live time, like I said, so this is 9 p.m. I'm gonna dial it back a few hours earlier so we have some daylight and you can actually see the environment a little bit better. So let's get ready to fly. Oh wow, and this time it actually did start with a cold and dark cockpit, which is something I could not figure out how to do. So that works well. So up here you have a quick drop down menu. If you hover over it, it pops right out and you have all these different options. You have ATC, your camera, checklist, basic controls, AI controls. Some of these I don't exactly know what they do. That goes back to your fuel and payload, your nav log, objectives, your destination, VFR maps, weather, and then your settings. So I think through weather I can actually change the time of day. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. Let's make it... yeah, around 7:30 is good. So let's just jump outside of the cockpit for a sec. Why is that right there? There we go. So we can hide that. Let's hide that. Let's take a look around. Something else really important to mention too, as far as the system I'm running the ITX rig. For those of you that follow my channel, you're probably pretty familiar with. It's got an i5 8600K, 16 gigs of RAM, and a RTX 2060. So it's not super spec heavy, and I'm a little concerned how it's going to run trying to record this. But we'll give it a go and see how it does. I was pretty impressed though, even though it shows kind of a low frame rate. when I'm actually in game, it feels really smooth. It feels like I'm getting more frames than what my GeForce Experience FPS counter is actually showing me. So that's always a good thing. The temps are running a little higher than I'd like, but it is a Founders card. But we're running around 70C on the GPU, around 55C on the CPU. So not terrible on the CPU side, but a little hotter than I'd like on the GPU side. But as you guys can see, it just looks phenomenal. And hopefully my recording doesn't look too laggy. But we have live cars. Well, not live, but we have cars moving around. And right now I do have live traffic set. I don't think that changes if I change the time. But so we're at Orlando International right now. We have a cold and dark cockpit in our Cessna Skyhawk 172. I hadn't messed with the showcase camera yet, but let's go back into the cockpit. Let's get this started. So mobility is pretty good in the cockpit. You can, we got a lot of switches and stuff behind the yoke, so we can click it and remove that real quick. So, and then you can zoom into different positions like this as well. So first things first, we're gonna turn on our battery. I'll turn on the standby right now too. So first things first, let's check our fuel flow. So I'm gonna turn on the fuel pump, apply some mixture and some throttle, and you can see up here we have some fuel flow. So that's good. We'll turn the fuel pump off. We can turn off our warning. Okay. Now for my joystick and throttle setup, I'm running a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro for the joystick, and then I have a Thrustmaster, the Hodis Warthog throttle quadrant. So I don't have everything quite programmed yet, so a lot of that stuff I have pretty down pat for X-Plane. I have all my buttons mapped, but I don't have them mapped yet in here. It's kind of been a work in progress, but alrighty, so we can flip on some of our lights. Turn on our navigation light, taxi light. We'll do that. Okay. So now we're going to set the magneto to start. I'll just go ahead and apply the mixture. Usually I would have about a quarter throttle, but I actually forgot, but luckily it started right up. Now we are safe to turn on our avionics. And usually it has a little Garmin loading screen. I didn't see that this time around, which I was kind of a fan of, so. But there we have it. I'm going to pull up my ATC menu. So we're going to tune ground on Orlando. I think we need the ATIS. Yeah, we'll try and depart east.
Orlando ground, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha with Echo request taxi for takeoff east departure. Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha taxi to and hold short of runway tree 6 right using taxiway Alpha Bravo 10 cross runway tree 6 left Bravo 10. Contact tower on 124 decimal tree when ready. Taxiing hold short runway tree 6 right via taxiway Alpha Bravo 10 cross runway tree 6 left Bravo 10 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Alrighty guys, I think we're good to taxi. I don't know if I have... Okay, so I do have some guidance around the airport, which is good because I don't know my way around Orlando or really any airport when it comes to taxiing. So I like having these arrows to show me where to go. That's always a plus. So I'm sure there's a way I can push back, but I'm just going to release the parking brake and turn around because we're in a Cessna. Test our brakes real quick. Seem to be working. Yeah, so right now my GeForce experience is telling me I'm only getting 32 frames per second, and it might not look that smooth in the recording, but it feels very smooth. Like, I feel like I'm more around the 60 mark, but maybe not quite 60, maybe more around 50, but it feels very smooth and it's pretty consistent. But like I said, this is one of the custom modeled airports that Microsoft and the developer teams have created without using just the algorithm, and it looks beautiful. You can see all the buildings and hangars over there look great. The other aircraft that are parked, but it just looks unbelievable. Tower looks really cool over there. So a couple things too within the game settings is you can really change up your experience from a complete beginner, where the game will give you the most amount of guidance possible, and you can customize each fields. Like, so right now I have these arrows turned on for the taxiing. But you can have it all the way to the most realistic experience possible, which is another really neat feature. We can check out that menu after we do some flying. So taxiing down that stretch of Orlando, we just got requested to hold position. Not sure if there's some traffic up ahead, but maybe we can see it if we leave the cockpit view. Take a look around. Taking a look at our MFD, it looks like we do have some traffic. Some traffic behind us, so.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha, continue taxi.
Yep, just.
Roger, Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
There we go. That menu's really nice and quick to access. That's why I really like it there. Some people have complained they don't want to see it pop up so often, but I really like it personally.
Orlando Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha ready for departure to the east at runway tree 6 right. Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha cleared for takeoff runway tree 6 right east departure approved.
Probably shouldn't have pulled right out on the runway, but oh well, we're clear.
Cleared for takeoff runway tree 6 right Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Alright, cool. So we got a long runway for this, so I'm not going to use any flaps. We're just going to go full power. They definitely have the flight model down, like kind of the sound effects added in with the feel of the aircraft, like you really feel the suspension in the plane's landing gear. Alrighty, and we are off. Good looking sunset.
Sierra Alpha, continue for east departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace.
Orlando Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, continue for east departure.
Actually, we might have... Nope, never mind. Sometimes it starts you off when you when you spawn in and you're ready to fly and you don't start with a cold and dark cockpit. I notice it does start off with like 10 degrees of flaps, so...
Orlando Tower FedEx 1681 at runway 36 right, ready for takeoff IFR to Indianapolis. FedEx 1681 cleared for takeoff runway 36 right.
So now that we're kind of leaving the Orlando airspace, I'm going to start to head east a little bit. As you see,
Cleared for takeoff runway 36 right,
we
FedEx
do have
1681.
our flight plan already input from when we did it in the main menu of Flight Sim. And I think it automatically puts it into our G1000, so pretty neat. Yeah, just an incredible looking game.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Orlando Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, frequency change.
Southwest 1226, cleared to land runway 35 right. Follow the generic on final. Wind 276 at tree.
So I'm continuing to climb. I think I'm going to climb to around maybe 2,500, 3,000 and just level off. So right now we got our heading of 359. We are cruising at 102 knots, 2,600 feet. And I have the autopilot set just to hold altitude right now. I'm not sure if they're going to give us any other headings. Guess it just depends on traffic, if there's anybody else that is flying in the vicinity and we need to divert course. So see a beautiful sunset. But it's just amazing how much right now we're streaming all this map data, because Microsoft having big Bing Maps collect all that data for years and years. It's compiled petabytes of data. So it's pretty cool the fact that we're streaming this data rather than installing all these scenery packs on our computers, because there isn't a home setup that could have all this stuff because it's petabytes and petabytes of data. So it's very interesting to see the technology that goes into this. So we have about 20 nautical miles till we get to Daytona, but just going over the scenery and stuff again. So I've done a lot of work with X-Plane 11 the past year or two, and that's a great flight simulator. We're actually working on a project. Kind of a little bit of background on me too. So like, I'm not a pilot, but I do work at a flight school, and I do IT work for them and work on simulators. And we're, like I said, we're working on a project where we're actually building a custom Cessna 172 sim, and we use X-Plane for that. And we've had a lot of add-ons that we put on it, different scenery packs, Ortho XP, done some satellite imagery stuff, and you can get it looking good top down because it's a satellite imagery overlay, but none of that's in 3D. So it's really amazing to see this using satellite imagery, but also generating it and streaming it in 3D. But there's some areas that has a hard time generating, and I don't know if it's my connection or the system I'm running, but there's some things that don't look so good that have issues getting generated. But from a top-down view like this, it really looks incredible. So runway 25 right is at the eastern side of the airport. Definitely need to drop some altitude. We're still way up there. Probably just gonna pull the throttle out for a little bit and kind of coast down in. Now, like I said, I probably, for my purposes, because I don't really know what I'm doing, I should leave the I should have left the yeah, so for my purposes, I probably should have left those arrows active so I could see the actual pattern to land this at 2.5, but I'm going to apply some flaps. For some reason, there we go. Didn't really want that much for flaps, but kind of hard to see it at this angle. And there we are, it's right in front of us. A little higher than I'd like, but we got a long runway.
500. 500.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a little steep. Go ahead and increase our flaps. Put the nose down. We might balloon a little bit, but once we get over the runway, we can kind of pull up and we should glide in pretty nicely. Don't know if I'll have to apply any throttle to cushion the landing any. Trying to gently put the nose down. There we go.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha exit runway when able.
Full stop landing. Probably wasn't necessary, but we're going to exit the
Daytona
runway.
Airport information Quebec 0000 Zulu.
I think general aviation parking is on our left hand side. Let's turn on our taxi lights so we can see a little bit better.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha exit runway when able.
There we go. We actually got some arrows. It's telling us to go over here, which I thought was more for commercial, but that's alright.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha contact ground on 121.9er.
So we're going to acknowledge the ground
121.9er
handoff.
for Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
This is neat. We're going to take a look around outside of the cockpit too, and I'll probably change it back to daylight so you can get a good look at Daytona International Speedway. I got kind of caught up in flying. So there we have it, guys. We successfully landed and taxied into Daytona International Airport. As you can see, we're guided in. Everything just looks super good. So I'm going to start doing these shutdown procedures. We'll turn off our avionics first. We need to clean up this airplane though before we shut everything down. I should have done that on taxiing in. Turn off our lights. Avionics off. I'm gonna pull out the mixture. That'll kill our engines. And let's turn off the master battery. There we go. That's pretty neat. It looks like we have some sort of, maybe like a headlamp in the game. So when it's dark, we can actually look around. Because there is some cockpits, I've noticed. I did a night flight with the TBM the other day. And I didn't exactly know where the cockpit lighting was. So it was pretty dark. So I had a hard time navigating, but I did end up finding it. So lastly, guys, I wanted to give you a daytime view of the Daytona Beach area, mainly focusing on the Daytona International Speedway, as the AutoGen does an amazing job generating this scenery for this area. It's very surprising how good it does for all the buildings in that area. As you can see, my footage gets a little bit laggy, but it's doing its best to generate and stream all that map data. Because like I said, this is all through AutoGen in the Black Shark AI technology. I don't believe Microsoft actually hand modeled any of this scenery for this area. But it just does an incredible job of the speedway. Up close you can see it's not super sharp and super detailed. Some of the backstretch gets a little bit chunky just because the structure of the building is very detailed, just having lots of steel beams. But here you can see as well the NASCAR corporate office down there. But this view is quite incredible looking in the morning hours. We got a little bit of frame rate drop in certain areas, but not too bad. They definitely didn't stick around, as it's pretty smooth now, as you can see. Quickly come to love the X-Cub. It's a great looking aircraft and also a very great performing aircraft. I'm really looking forward to doing some bush flying with it. So that is going to wrap up this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This was just kind of a first look rundown in some of my early hours of flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Hopefully this gave you a really good idea of what it's like using the software along with some of its capabilities. Overall, I absolutely love this flight simulator. It blows any other flight simulator out of the water as far as a technology standpoint. That's not to say that all other flight simulators are obsolete, but for me it's going to be hard to go back to anything else. I will definitely be posting some more videos in the near future on flights and many other things to do with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more tech related videos, be sure to subscribe. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.